All right, welcome back from our lunch break. We are going to move on to our next item. It is our 6.9. Consideration of an update on county economic development and housing initiatives. Lisa Judd and Ben Rickelman, you have the floor.
Good afternoon, Board. Ben Rickelman, Deputy County Administrative Officer. We're here to provide an update on our economic development and housing initiatives that are currently underway. So this is a long list, but we'll try to do it in an efficient manner. Working through the design phase of the economic development and housing website. So this will have several different features we think will be a real asset to the community. Among those is kind of just explaining the ecosystem of different business support organizations, resources available for starting and growing a business, possible sources of capital. We're also going to have a map of both kind of where there's development activity, potential development activity, where there's projects in the pipeline, and then also a map just highlighting the different communities in Lake County for outside audiences. And then there's also going to be a housing component of the website. Do you want to take that?
As we went over last week, there's a housing action and implementation plan, and really that plan is a springboard for a whole lot of work for us to dig in deep and really make some changes, and including the completion of the housing site analysis, creating a developer-friendly atmosphere, which includes some of those the housing web pages. That's going to be part of that. And also another component is that we're working on this in the next year will be attaining the pro housing designation, which has so many wonderful benefits for housing. And then there's the creation of the housing rehabilitation program, looking at that and different opportunities that we have. And then last, we cannot forget the Lake County Regional Housing Trust Fund. We're still working on that and getting the administrative guidelines finished and our Board of Trustees, and using that as a real resource and tool so that we can further our housing in Lake County.
Do something. Oh, there we go. Just to touch on these other projects then too. So working with the departments that handle large capital projects, public services, public works, and special districts on a capital improvement plan. So putting into plan documents kind of what these projects would require and what stage they're in, if they're still in planning or if they're in active development. Another project is we'll be shortly issuing an RFQ regarding microgrids for communities in Lake County. I know there's been several discussions with the board regarding energy cost, and this might be a solution, at least for parts of the county. So we'll see what we can do there with outside partners. Another project I'm working on with several different partners is the Heart Hub. So this is the healthcare workforce development center. There's 3 components. There's curriculum being built out from roughly 5th to 12th grade to engage students on different medical career pathways. And then there's going to be a continuing education for people who are already in the field, or adults interested. And there'll be a simulation lab. So it should be a pretty exciting project. There is a lease now executed for the site that is across from Sutter Lakeside. There is a request with Senator Padilla, so we might secure some congressional funding, which would be great. And I'm currently working on Economic Development Administration disaster supplemental funding for the equipment for the space. As brought up a few weeks ago with Jeff Lucas from Community Development Services, we anticipate an upcoming notice of funding availability with the Community Development Block Grant that can be used for economic development or housing, we believe. That's what the last one was. So we're still waiting for the NOFA to be released. This would be the first one under this administration, so there might be some changes. But we're getting some signals from the state that they anticipate the NOFA will be released in September. So we'll see. But whenever it's released, we'll be coming back to the board with a specific program of proposed activities. And then the last one, which is new, so with Lake County's fragmented water and sewer network, and it's just, I've heard with some development projects, and this is a general California issue too, is just the upfront costs for putting projects together with impact fees and development fees. What some communities in California have done is a fee deferral program for qualified projects. So for some communities, it's just commercial and industrial projects of certain size. Some communities also do affordable housing. And how it works is they pay a portion of the impact fee up front, and then through a few subsequent years, they pay a portion. So a common setup is like 25% initially, and then the next 3 years they're paying 25%. And the attraction to the company or whoever's developing is because there's so much pre-development work here and the timelines are somewhat uncertain, you're at least generating some income before you're having to pay this. So further discussions with special districts, and then we'll come back to the board to present some options for further consideration. So this is a table, just going a little bit more detail, kind of anticipated targeted completion for some of these projects, and then where it stands with funding for some of them. This is just going a little bit more, as I spoke to before, on the economic development website and housing website, and some of the tools and resources we will be featuring. Just again, Karen Pavoni took some great photos, and some of these are provided by the companies too, that I think will be a really good showcase for Lake County and kind of tell a story that really isn't out there, that's easily accessible at the moment on the internet. This is a proposed project sheet for the CIP. So this would be for an individual project, as you've probably seen with other communities' capital improvement plans. So it provides the time frame, where the funding's coming from, and how the funding's being allocated for the project itself. This is just a battery storage system that is part of a microgrid. So the picture on the left is one of Sutter's simulation labs. Sutter's one of the biggest partners on this project. And then, so something like this would be in the Heart Hub. And then on the right is just the blue rectangle is the property where the Heart Hub will be and where the lease has been executed. So they're doing some work with legal on the curriculum side, but then also they're going to start doing some work on the design side of the space. And as long as I'm up here, there's been some interesting developments legislatively regarding economic development on both the federal and the state level. So on the federal level, with the recently passed H.R. 1, the reconciliation bill, opportunity zones were made permanent in the federal tax code. And a very high level way of explaining opportunity zones is you're basically incentivizing the allocation of capital gains through the tax code. It doesn't necessarily have to be commercial real estate development, but that's what it's overwhelmingly been. I think that's mostly because of the tax benefits. So there is some interesting changes. I guess just time frame wise. So the existing opportunity zones, I believe there's 2 in Clear Lake at the moment. Those will now sunset at the end of calendar year 2028. And then for the new ones, the governor's office still has the full discretion of making those where the OZs can be for eligible census tracts. The governor's office is supposed to make that decision by the beginning of July 2026, and then they'll be active the beginning calendar year of 2027. They now have a separate rural opportunity zone fund with this legislation that provides 2 decent advantages for rural investment. One is the step up in basis. Do we know what? So step up in basis is what the fair market value will be taxed at. So like if you inherit a piece of property and let's say the previous owner, the valuation went from 300 to 600,000, and then under your ownership it went to 600 to 650,000. You're only taxed on the capital gain of the 600 to 650,000. The 3 to 6 is stepped up in basis. So when capital gains are rolled over into a opportunity zone fund, that stepped up in basis will be 30% for rural tracts, which all of Lake County qualifies, compared to 10% in urban. And then another change that's important for rural is with the existing program, it has to be 100% substantial improvement. So that means the value of the investment has to transform it at least 100% in value. So that usually means new construction. You can't really do, most renovations aren't going to increase value by 100%. Whereas with the new rural OZs, you can do 50% improvement. So if it's a significant renovation of an existing property, it should work. So there is a dynamic map you can find online, or I can send out to people, that has the new OZs mapped, but this is a picture of it. So those, I shouldn't say the new OZs, I should say eligible census tracts for OZ designation. So those orange census tracts are ones that could be designated, and of those orange ones, 25% will be designated. So what I've seen in the past is opportunity zones won't in of themselves induce development, but it's a strong kind of layer to make that decision. And the county doesn't have any formal power in designation, but I think it would be a good idea to put some thought into tracts we think would be a good choice for the governor's office.
So 25% of the eligible
Correct.
precincts in the county. So
In the state.
in the state. Okay, that's what I want to make sure, because we have so many, not all, but many in the county, but we still have to be competitive.
Correct.
So what percentage of the eligible tracts in our county do you think we should prioritize?
I think it's more just what's in the individual tracks and is there potential projects, and could this kind of tip the balance of something actually happening instead of maybe just a nominal number.
Okay,
And,
that makes sense.
and then making that argument to the governor's office why this specific track is a good idea for selection.
Perfect. And what's the time frame for that?
So there hasn't, when I worked on it, when the program came out, the initial round, I mean, there wasn't anything public. It was just kind of conversation. That was in a different state, but just conversations with the governor's office to make it. But the law says the governor is supposed to make the designation the beginning of July 2026.
Okay, so we have a little bit of time.
Yes.
Okay, perfect.
Bruno.
Yeah, Thank you for talking about this. I knew there was a version 2.0 coming in, and just to let you know, when the first maps came out, I was proud then, maybe not so proud here, but we did steal the city of Clear Lake. I worked with the city manager to write a letter saying we should be designated an extra and took one away from the county. So there can be changes made, so I would say advocacy will still exist, and that we need to be on top of it to make sure that we retain what we get or make sure that we have what we need.
Yeah, that makes total sense. I guess the one other thing I'll say is they did tighten up the income. So it was before, now 80% below median family income for the state, and now it's 70%. Our census tract has at least 20% in the poverty rate and not above 100, I believe, 20% of median family income for the state. So with the state budget bill recently passed, there was some measures that pertain to both housing and economic development. I'm not going to cover them all, just ones I think have strong interest here. So AB 130, this exempts, and this is both for market rate and affordable, which is, there's been a lot of CEQA exemption for housing just for affordable social housing. So this is both. It won't have a major impact in the unincorporated areas of Lake County because it's only for incorporated areas and then what the census calls urban areas. And we do have a little bit of that in Lake County, in Nice, in Clear Lake Rivieras. But one of the stipulations with the law is it excludes parcels that are in the very high fire threat severity. So that,
Boom.
yeah. But it could spur housing production, which would still be beneficial to the county-wide economy and quality of life within the cities. And then SB 131, which was also part of the state's budget, had several other CEQA exemptions. I think of particular importance to the county, wildfire risk mitigation projects, broadband. So all the companies that are working on both the middle mile and the federal funding account last mile projects are they're aware of this and I believe utilizing it. And then advanced manufacturing, we do actually have a company, I don't think they necessarily need a secret, but I didn't ask them to say it publicly. If you have an area zone industrial, and it is fairly targeted to what I would consider truly advanced manufacturing, but they're looking at an additional building facility that this will help. And this was presented last week, and certain policies and information will be on the website too that reflect it. That's it.
All right, thank you. Any other questions? All right, I'll open it up for public. You do have one?
Yeah, I just have a quick question. So you gave a laundry list of things. Do you have a specific priority? Like, I don't know, I'm thinking like building a house, you build the foundation and the walls. Are you looking at specific priorities as to what can propel other economic development rather than just focusing on all those things all at once?
Yeah, so just we'll be wrapping up the website soon. I think that's important to have that platform out for both locally and for a wider audience, so people get a much better feel what's possible in Lake County and what can happen. And we can also then create materials off that pretty easily, which I can use. I plan to be going attending site selection conferences more in the upcoming year, so both ICSC in Las Vegas and Monterey. And then also just one-on-one conversations with developers out of market, primarily in Sacramento and the Bay Area. Also then, I think the kind of the secondary priority is the EDA application, just because that project is moving ahead and the lease is signed. And I think it's a really big opportunity for the county.
And my second question for you is, you had mentioned, I'm looking up just to see if I'm not misconstruing with others, the potential reduction in commercial developments like fee deferrals. Is that also a concept you're looking at for residential? Because again, we could add all the commercial developments if we wanted to, but if there's not a pool of employees to pull from, we need housing for, just like if we expand, we need housing for those that we hire. Just kind of curious if that's also within that range and not just commercial developments.
I think that's a discussion with the board and with special districts. I think it's a great idea, but I think it's more just figuring out how to target it. So other communities in California, they do maybe a residential development of a certain size. I think just also because of the administrative burden. But yeah, I think it's definitely something we'll pursue.
And then my last comment is more of a seeing if there's consensus from the board or even a comment from yourself. All of the listed economic development topics, is there a way to get a concept of how many jobs do we anticipate to create and how much the return on the investment might be based on other concepts in other areas, just to kind of get a glimpse as to what we should anticipate?
I mean, I could put something together. It might be hard to kind of tie it all together. So with like the Heart Hub, we can, I think, put a pretty quantitative case together how this is going to impact the medical industry here and the economic impact. And then with the deferral program, we can look at other communities. I mean, it's always kind of art, kind of science, what made them pull the trigger and make that investment. But we can look at developments tied to those programs and see maybe what's potential. I know there's a few properties here where that does seem to be kind of the hang up, is the impact fees for anything moving forward. So yeah, I think there is a way to quantify it.
That would be great. I would love to see that, just to kind of help me better understand what the impacts will be.
On where it says create a developer-friendly atmosphere, from what aspect? County or community? I mean, I know that we can't control how the community feels about it, but how do we, I know you're probably speaking about our county being more friendly towards developers. Is there a way to mix it in with having some guidelines or some benchmarks that help with community engagement and community friendly types of atmospheres as well?
I'm just going to answer it from the housing perspective.
Yes.
So we did a lot of developer engagement when we did the community engagement piece, and we really heard from the developers that they really want to know up front if there's any costs or things they don't want to know when they're farther down the pipeline. You know, point of contact would be a wonderful thing that I've heard from them as well, so they're not trying to deal with so many entities and being frustrated. So if we can get the message out that, you know, we want development here in Lake County and we're easy to work with, and developer friendly is what we're looking for, through a bunch of, like you said, outreach to those developers that we know are here in the county and others that might come in, with our web page to have resources like the interactive web map so they can look in and see what criteria they're looking for when they're building. Just all those things to make it streamline, make it easier for them, and have a better experience.
And I'm just diving into this because that would be great. It's just once it gets into project mode, we have people that want to appeal or have issues and want to bring it to a public forum. So that's what I'm really getting to. I want to be able to, you know, think ahead and get ahead of that curve as well.
Yeah, that makes sense. I will say, so when I've worked on larger projects elsewhere, sometimes there's been a specific assigned point of contact in the agencies or departments handling the development process. So I mean, that's a policy that could be, it could be, you know, every development, it could be developments of certain size or type. And I've seen a lot of value in that.
Thanks. I'm just trying to get ahead of that curve because I understand and hope that we can get to that point of developing. We just have to have a unique balance when it comes to the project and the permit status. So, any other questions? Oh, sorry, Vice Chair.
I was just going to comment, I like the possible fee deferral program as well, because I think it's another aspect of being able to make it more attractive for people. Maybe it's easier for them to get started and they can pay some of those fees later. So I think that's definitely something we should keep looking at.
I thought you put your pen back up, sorry.
Just reaching for my mic, hanging on.
I'll open it up for public comment. Please come on up if you have a comment.
Nancy Rosica. Ben, have you ever heard of Arrow Acres? Okay, good. Because Workrite Products was going to go to the Napa airport. They had been operating in some old, I think they were pear packing sheds in Findlay. And their first big contract when they decided to develop the frameless shower door was with Hyatt Hotels. So to this day, if you go to a Hyatt hotel or you live in an older home, maybe it was Brad, you told me that you had a Workrite shower door. I've got a Workrite shower door in my house. The road on the south, I guess it'd be the southwest side of the airport. Here, I'm a pilot. I'm not active now, so I don't remember exactly what the heading was on that. But anyway, it's like a freeway out there. And we have one business out there. It was a spa manufacturer after Workrite was bought by a Kansas firm and moved the business to Kansas. Anyway, it needs water and sewer out there. Is there money to put water and sewer in a previously planned industrial development site? I mean, Ester Formula has just spent what I would imagine is a fortune on upgrading their leach field and their septic system. And they've had a permit in the planning department, I think it was since January. And I don't know, maybe Brad knows, if they've gotten their permits so they can ship their products. Anyway, let's keep that in mind. What sites are available around the county? And what happened with Ester Formula, they sent a man to this country who had lived in London a long time. He was Korean. And he started on the East Coast and looked at sites in New Jersey, maybe it was Tennessee, and Texas, and ended up here in Lake County. And when he drove in, he was like Brigham Young coming to Salt Lake City. Wow, this is the place. As he came across. And they bought that building, and it's been an uphill battle. So let's make sure we are truly business friendly. I attended a couple of GONOC presentations, and I was appalled that it's taken them 5 years. I think the first thing that should have been done, and I'll tell the Planning Commission this soon, maybe, if I have the guts to. I feel like I know all you better to say this. But who would want to own a house, an expensive house in a new development on Butte Canyon Road? Come on now, you know. There's a project in Nebraska that was called Devil's Nest, and only people in the immediate area knew the history of Devil's Nest. That's where the James boys hung out. And the sheriff in Yankton, South Dakota said, hey, let the devils stay in their nest. Well, first thing Cliff and I did, advising the Omaha National Bank, and later we bought it for them for pennies on the dollar and sold it off in parts, including one vineyard, was let's change the name, and we started calling it just The Nest. Who would want to build the main road with the most beautiful views was Devil's Rim Drive. So let's kind of look at some of these things, especially when people first come into the planning department. We need to do some marketing that will attract people from the Bay Area to bring their big dollars up. You can't buy a condo in East Bay for less than $1 million. I just saw that this weekend. So anyway, I
Nancy.
just hope you'll remember Arrow Acres. I worked on it for many years, and before I die, I'd like to see something out there besides just the work right building. Thank you.
Thank you, Nancy.
Uh,
Go ahead.
So a few comments on that. Yeah, I think it'd be a great area for development. There is the Economic Development Administration's Public Works, which is a bit of a misnomer on the name, but they will do water and sewer for industrial area, but it has to be tied to direct job creation or retention. So we need an interested private sector partner to come in. But if there is one available and it fits for the community, that's definitely funding we could pursue to provide water and sewer through the EDA. And yes, totally agree with the Esther formula major use permit. Checking in with community development again to see when that will be scheduled with the Planning Commission. And then I believe we're also pursuing California Competes competitive through the state income tax credit with them for which I think will be beneficial.
All right. Yep, come on up.
Good afternoon, Chair Crandall, Vice Chair Rasmussen, and Supervisors. Margot Kambara, Lake County resident. The interest in microgrids from the administrative office is very promising. Bravo. Where would the community find information on the microgrids in terms of preferred locations or criteria for location? This information is particularly of interest to the General Plan Advisory Committee and the Local Area Plan Committee members. Thank you. Oh, I forgot to mention I'm on the General Plan Advisory Committee. Thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah, so as part of the CDBG economic development, NOFA, our thought is as part of the submittal, there's a bucket that can be used for planning. So we would apply for a microgrid analysis to look at different communities, kind of what is the needs, what's the possibility, what are possible sites where you could put storage systems and solar arrays. So that's one possibility, and we'll explore others too.
Thanks, man. Any other public comment, maybe on Zoom? Betsy, please unmute.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Betsy Kahn for the Essential Public Information Center. Nancy, you inspire me. The issues you brought up are so politely and gently are reflective of my concerns. When I first came here, the county had invested almost $1 million in a marketing plan, and I've been hearing over and over and over and over and over and over again that we'll figure out how to put sewer and water out there at the airport. You have already somewhere in the bowels of the dungeon downstairs, the records of the old CDD, you have 4 or 5 key areas of the county that were designated through marketing analyses for focused development. The Nice Lucerne cutoff, the airport area, I really don't know the proper name that Nancy used for the area, but that whole area there, Kelseyville in its local area plan committee spoke about wanting to develop industrial capacities or light industrial capacities. You've certainly got the city of Clear Lake, which has lots of development needs. So it's not like you don't have this information, and I really, some of the answers that Mr. Rickleman crafts on the spot, and knowing that he's on the spot, I forgive him, but some of them really don't contain any solid information. It's something that the board, gets hung up on all the time. Plus the issues around the water, which you heard about earlier, and the concerns that the general plan has, there are many, many concerns that you should be addressing. So I'm sorry, I'm not satisfied that this is doing anything more than just treading water. The last comment I want to make, and please forgive me, but I have to tell you this, those colors, that green and that pink, they are horrible. You should just simply have somebody pick colors that knows how to do that. Otherwise, great presentation. Thanks.
Thank you. Any other comments in Zoom? All right, if there's no more public comment, I'll bring it back to the board. Any final thoughts?
Looking up the colors.
I am too.
Well, thank
Thanks for
you
all
for
the
this
work.
presentation and for the information. All right,
Thank you.
all right. We'll move on to 6.10, presentation of Community Development Department Code Enforcement on body-worn camera policies. And CAO?
Yes, thank you, Chair. Director Turner has asked me to request respectfully that this item be moved to a date, excuse me, a date to be determined.
Okay. So to be determined later. Okay. So any comments from the board?
I don't have a problem with continuing it.
Okay.
I understand they want to just carefully review it further.
All right. I'll open it up for the public. All right, I'll bring it back to the board, and we will continue to a date to be determined. I'm going to go back to 5.3. Did Lisa leave? Oh, no, there she is. Perfect. We're just going to hit 5.3 is pulled from consent since we're done with timed. And since it was just kind of covered somewhat in the last presentation, we'll go off and address this. Adopt the final Lake County Housing Action and Implementation Plan as amended. And Mrs. Canberra, you pulled this. Did you want to come up and explain that?
Sorry, guys.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
I did.
Supervisors, Margot Kambara, Lake County resident. Thank you for your thoughtful consideration of the Lake County Housing Plan. Before your board approves a final draft offer for your approval today, your board may wish to remind staff to add a definitions section that you requested last Tuesday. The addition of the definitions section can occur prior to your approving the final draft presented, or in the fall with the addition of the 2 goals recommended by Supervisor Pyska. Of course, this is your board's decision. Last Tuesday, when your board considered the HAPE, the Housing Action Implementation Plan, Supervisor Sabatier suggested toning down the HAPE's language on, quote, the use of categorical or statutory California Environmental Quality Act, CEQA exemptions, end quote. Your board's direction on this point to staff would be instructive to staff and board-appointed bodies such as the Planning Commission. I respectfully ask your board to consider including Supervisor Sabatier's comment on the use of CEQA exemptions as a revision to the HAPE. Thank you.
All right. Did you have any comments on that? Lisa?
Only that, as we talked about earlier, this is a living document, and putting those definitions together in such a short period of time is challenging. We definitely, I just want you to know that Director Turner and myself and our climate resiliency officer will be meeting tomorrow to start discussing the post-climate, post-disaster elements that Supervisor Pyska requested. And we certainly can add the definitions when we come to your board again with that.
Supervisor Sabatier?
I don't remember getting consensus on the additions of definitions. I know that I had mentioned it, so I wasn't expecting to see it because I don't remember getting that full consensus in comparison to some of the items that you mentioned in the memo. But I'd
Thank
be
you.
happy
I
to
wasn't
see
sure.
it.
I wasn't sure either. So I know
I'd
that
love
was-
to see it there if the rest of the board also agrees that,
For the definitions, is that what it was?
yeah, to add definitions to certain words that, like small lots or whatever it was, things like that, that it doesn't describe itself just by reading it.
How, is that already being done, or is that something we were gonna look at later, like you mentioned, or is that the same subject?
And that it would come back at a later time when she's ready. I don't think we
I-
gave consensus last time.
Yeah, I'm just fine for that to be part of the next
Yeah,
draft, like
yeah.
it doesn't need to be.
Same here.
Yeah, I don't remember what we said before, other than I think we did say that not necessarily everything had to be done this week. It could
Mhm.
be edited, so I'm fine with adding that definitions in at the point that they're ready.
Okay.
Bring it back.
And appreciate the changes made.
Thank you.
All right, when do we anticipate this coming back?
I think we said at the, let's see, for fall,
Okay,
before the end of the year.
okay. Anything to add, Lloyd? I seen you look over, so I was worried. I thought maybe.
No, I mean, your board can approve, with staff's consent or request, approve by motion, the plan that's been uploaded, the finalized version of that, and then add direction to staff to come back at the next draft to add the definition section.
I'll open it up for public comment real quick. Bring it back to the board so someone can say so moved.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second.
Aye.
As moved with the recommendation of county council. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Thank you. All right. Let's see. Any recommendations?
5.4, please.
5.4, approve agreement between County of Lake County Behavioral Health Services, and as lead agency for the Lake County Continuum of Care and Adventist Health Clear Lake Hospital Incorporated in the amount of $184,000 for the period of June 1st, 2025 through October 31st, 2026, and authorize the chair to sign. Director Elise Jones.
Hello, Mr. Chair. Thank you. I believe that we have to pull this item, but I would like to check with Supervisor Spatier, who of course sits as the chair for the Lake County Continuum of Care. I do not believe that this agreement has yet been approved by the Continuum.
So embarrassingly enough, I had to ask Director Jones, because I am the chair of the COC, did we pass this? I wasn't aware as well, but it is on our agenda this Thursday for us to approve.
We got ahead of ourselves.
So we got just slightly ahead, and so I checked in with Melissa Kopp, who was very helpful and let me know. So it is on this agenda coming up on Thursday, and so we'll be ready to bring it back as soon as it's ready.
Sorry.
Okay. All right. No worries. So with that,
7.2, please.
so I will go ahead and open it up for the public real quick for that. Anyone? All right. Bring it back to the board, and we will continue that till a later date to be determined. 7.2, consideration of amendment number 1 to the agreement between the County of Lake and Vista Pacifica Enterprises Incorporated for adult residential support services and specialty mental health services in the amount of $745,000 for fiscal year 24-25. Director Jones.
Yes, thank you. I believe we are just closing out our previous fiscal year with Vista Pacifica, which is a facility that has, among other things, a skilled nursing component. So it's very valuable for individuals who might have, like, for example, dialysis needs or wound care, to have that service. And as always, we're looking to step people down into a lower and less expensive level of care. But this will help us finish up with Vista Pacifica. Thank you.
All right. Any comments from the board? Open it up for public comment. Bring it back to the board for action.
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve amendment to the agreement between the County of Lake and Vista Pacific Enterprises, Inc., increasing the fiscal year 2024-2025 contract maximum for $660,000 to $745,000, and authorize the Board of the Supervisors to sign, the Chair of the Board of Supervisors to sign the amendment.
Second?
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any
Hang on
opposed?
a second.
Is that the right number?
Which one?
It says 745. Oh, sorry. Aye.
All right. All right, so I have 5 yeses, any noes? All right, motion carries 5-0. There we go. Just continue down. We'll go down to 7.3. Consideration of the agreement between County of Lake and California Psychiatric Transitions Incorporated for inpatient psychiatric rehabilitation services, inpatient competency restoration services, and professional services associated with inpatient psychiatric rehabilitation in the amount of $350,000 for fiscal year 25-26. Director Jones.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is a really critical contract. California Psychiatric Transitions is one of the only facilities in the state of California that can serve as an alternative to Department of State Hospital. And so they're able to accept individuals who are on Murphy's conservatorship and people who have been deemed incompetent to stand trial, so they perform competency restoration. And it's as many people as we can divert from DISH, as they call it, Department of State Hospitals, into CPT. That is good for us. So,
All right. Any comments from the board? Open it up to the public. With no public comment, I'll bring it back to the board for action.
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the agreement between the County of Lake and California Psychiatric Transitions, Inc. for inpatient psychiatric rehabilitation services, inpatient competency restoration services, and professional services associated with inpatient psychiatric rehabilitation in the amount of $350,000 for fiscal year 25-26, and authorize the chair to sign.
No second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. All right. Next is 7.4. Consideration for approval of amendment number 1 to the agreement between County of Lake and Lake County Office of Education Safe Schools Healthy Students Program for school-based specialty mental health services in the amount of $825,000 for fiscal year 24-25. Director Jones.
thank you. Another one wrapping up the 24-25 fiscal year. To me, this marks an incredible success of the provision of specialty mental health services through the schools. I'm pleased to report a dozen, I believe, or more school sites have been certified for specialty mental health, and Lake County Office of Education runs a youth behavioral health program essentially on behalf of the county. And so I remember when I started with the department, we weren't seeing contracts above like $150,000. And so when you see a higher contract dollar amount, that's because they claim those services. That's fee for service. So that's a whole lot more youth being served in our schools.
Any questions from the board? I'll open it up for public comment. No hands, okay, so I'll bring it back to the board for action.
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve amendment number 1 to the agreement between the County of Lake and Lake County Office of Education for school-based mental health services for fiscal year 24-25, increasing the contract maximum to $825,000, and authorize the chair to sign.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries 5-0. 7.5, consideration of the agreement between County of Lake and Hilltop Recovery Services for ASAM Residential Level 3.1 and 3.5 and Intensive and Outpatient Levels of Care 1.0 and 2.1 in the amount of $2 million for fiscal year 25 and 26. Director Jones.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to acknowledge the incredible work of Hilltop Recovery. We've enjoyed a really wonderful and productive working relationship with them for many years. And now that we are a DMC ODS county, we're utilizing them more than ever because more of our beneficiaries have coverage for those services. And they have always made it a priority to take Lake County residents because they have no problem getting business. And so I really appreciate them and their dedication to our community. There's even been years past when we couldn't, beneficiaries didn't have coverage and they'd have them for free. They just did it for free. So now they're fortunately getting paid for all of this. So a critical component of our DMC ODS network.
ODS, yeah.
Yeah.
That was a really good thing when we got that waiver pushed forward. It helped with
Yes.
that. Any Supervisor Sabatier?
I took a act of Congress. That was a difficult task. I just wanted to mention on this one, I didn't want to mention it on the previous one. This one's a bigger number item. I'm planning to approve it. Looking for consensus from the board, and I appreciate it. I send emails. I'm sure Director Jones would speak to it. Always asking further questions for most of these important but also costly services. In all of the contracts, it requires an annual report to be submitted to behavioral health. I would love to see the previous year's report so we can show the public and share with us what are some of the outcomes, what are some of the demographics, because we're seeing the great intention, but we're not seeing what's the result of those great intentions. And I'd love to see if we can marry those two things together to be better exposed to that information and share more how it is that we're doing things. And I know we're working towards those things, but just looking for board consensus that would be really great if we can get, we're not going to get this year's, but if we can even get the previous years to get an understanding on the results of the actions of these contracts.
Do you have that report available because we have to have these contracts approved at this time of year. We can't wait for a report. So I'm asking, like, is that even going to be available?
Yes, actually, I did provide, Hilltop did provide a report. And I'd also like to further clarify that as with all other, most other contracts, there's extensive oversight by the Department of Healthcare Services. There's an incredible audit burden for these services. And so I would be cautious about imposing additional reporting requirements on the plan because we are already heavily reporting to the Department of Healthcare Services. Also, due to behavioral health transformation, the entire state is moving along in implementing outcome data tracking, but we are certainly not alone in the struggles that present themselves with those type of metrics. I think that's all my comments.
Yeah. I think the most important thing is we get these contracts approved. And I would like to see them be on consent because, I really respect your time and your staff's time. And I think, it's more appropriate for us to put these on consent and be able to approve these quickly and not have you sit here all day, even though we love you so much.
Yeah. Supervisor
If I may
Fontaine?
respond, I'm not asking for any extra reports. Like I said, inside the contracts, there's already a reporting requirement. I get it that in August or July, having a report from the previous year is not, I'm talking about the previous year, because these contracts, the majority of them are not brand new. If they are brand new, there'll be no report to attach, but in the future there would be, and I just think it helps to be more transparent with the public. We have $19 million that we're talking about today, specifically for behavioral health. Sharing some of that information, I think, enlightens and lightens the potential conflict or issues of people concerned about the cost of these services.
Supervisor Pyska?
I think we've got the monthly newsletter. I think there's ways to share out that, we don't have to. What I'm concerned about is the amount of time that our board is spending with this. And I would like to see these put more efficiently on consent. And so if there's a certain report you're looking for, maybe it could be added to the memo on consent, or maybe this data could be added to the newsletters that are just so lovely that your staff puts out, so that we're not putting more of a burden on staff right now.
I just wasn't clear. Is that some kind of report you already have from the previous year that
Yes.
is already something
Yes.
that wouldn't cause extra work?
It shouldn't, although our enforcement of collecting those reports, given, as I said, the extensive auditing burden that they already experience, hasn't always been consistent. But Lori did a really good job with the one she developed, which includes not just what they did in the community events and things like that, which is also really powerful. But demographics, particularly when you're looking at penetration rates into different populations, you're looking for disparities. We actually also do report globally on that with our external quality review reports, which I come every year before the board, and that gives a global picture of the entire plan's work. And so now that we are a DMC ODS county, that EQRO encompasses all of those SED services as well. So there'll be really great data this next time on penetration rates, because now it's in that same system, if that makes any sense.
So it encompasses what's being asked for here?
It doesn't encompass specific provider by provider, but it breaks out all the different types of levels of care and outcomes across all those levels of care in aggregate.
Okay.
I'm good with that.
Any other comments or? No? Any public comment on this? I'll open it up. All right. We are on yes, we're on Hilltop right now. 7.5.
Nancy Ruzicka, for a number of years, I chaired the Alcohol and Drug Advisory Committee, so I was very close to the programs, and I'm pleased to see all these programs by professionals that hopefully have a good track record. Hilltop Recovery Services was burned out, up on Common and now in Clear Lake Oaks. And we had a couple employees over the years that needed to use their services, and it was very successful. I'd like to always see where these things are located. Hilltop Recovery is local. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody on Zoom? I'll bring it back to the board for action.
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the agreement between the County of Lake and Hilltop Recovery Services for ASAM residential level 3.1 and 3.5 and intensive and outpatient levels of care 1.0 and 2.1 in the amount of $2 million for fiscal year 25-26 and authorize the chair to sign.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Let's see, so we're just going down the list, sorry. 7.6, consideration of agreement between County of Lake and New Life Health Authority, DBA, New Life LLC, for substance use disorder outpatient drug-free services, intensive outpatient treatment services, and narcotic treatment program services in an amount not to exceed $12 million for fiscal year 25-26. Director Jones.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is one of those required levels of care that we do not currently have in the county, but we would love to. We're working very hard to see how we can actually, it's just the methadone component. We do have a medication-assisted program that it's at Lucerne, it's at our clinic there, it's county operated, but it's not methadone, it's everything but that pretty much. So for those folks that methadone is the best option for them, or they want to do New Life for whatever reasons, they have beneficiaries have choice. So we're grateful to them for being able to provide those services. And this is also a unique contract because New Life Clinic, as you may recall, is a Tribal 638 clinic that bills a single encounter rate through the OMB, which I cannot remember. It's a federal department, and they set rates and things like that. And so essentially, Pinoleville Tribal Nation, who owns the clinic, has generously and continues to offer up the non-federal share of cost. And as you may recall, Medi-Cal is a pie, and one part of the pie is a local county match. The other part is state general fund. You ship those up to the feds, and then they ship your whole claim back down. So we do not have any cent of county funds that contribute towards these services at all. These are federal dollars that are drawn down on behalf of New Life.
Thank you for that. That was one of my questions. Any comments from Supervisor Sabatier?
I just wanted to say that I will not be voting for this as I feel I do not have the financial information to feel comfortable for such a large number.
All right. Any other comments? Open it up for public comment. No hands in Zoom. I'll bring it back to the board for action.
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the agreement between the County of Lake and New Life Health Authority, DBA New Life LLC, for substance use disorder treatment services for fiscal year 25-26 in an amount not to exceed $12 million and authorize the chair to sign.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
Motion carries 4-1. Next we have 7.7, consideration of agreement between County of Lake and Willow Glen Care Center for adult residential support services and specialty mental health services in an amount not to exceed $500,000 for fiscal year 25 and 26. Director Jones.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Again, a critical need for us. Willow Glen is a placement for many individuals on conservatorship who require a lot of help. And we work incredibly diligently to step those individuals down. We actually recently expanded our discharge planning team by, maybe we doubled it, because we're going out to these facilities, we're visiting with our beneficiaries, we're working with those programs to help figure out how they're going to step back down into the community. We have also just recently issued a notice of award to an agency through an RFP process to open up another board and care facility. That's one of our biggest barriers, is there aren't sufficient board and cares to step people down into. But it is big on our mind. It's not only expensive monetarily, but also it's, you know, expensive for that individual to be out of their home for so long. So we're motivated to get them out, but nonetheless, these are pretty critical services.
All right, any questions from the board? Open it up for public comment. Not seeing any hands in Zoom, I'll bring it back to the board for action.
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the agreement between the County of Lake and Willow Glen Care Center for Specialized Mental Health Services for fiscal year 25-26 in an amount not to exceed $500,000 and authorize the board chair to sign.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Right. Next, we have 7.8. Consideration of agreement between County of Lake and Women's Recovery Services, ASAM Level 3.1, Residential Treatment Services to continue vital SUD treatment services for Lake County residents in the not-to-exceed amount of $300,000 for fiscal year 25 and 26. Director Jones.
Thank you again, Mr. Chair. So this is a perinatal program, which means pregnant or parenting women or people. And we do have an in-county option that is run by Robo Community Services called the Thule House. However, they're in a regional model, so they don't just take people from Lake, they take people from all over. Usually they're incredibly accommodating and will accept our Lake County people. However, in the event that they don't have the ability to, we have another place, and also sometimes for clinical reasons, it is better for the individual to be out of county and kind of away from the environment. And I visited the campus. It's absolutely gorgeous. They have a beautiful facility. They have childcare on site. Every time I go there, I'm incredibly impressed and grateful for the work that they do.
All right. Any questions from the board? I'll open it up for public comment. I'll bring it back to the board for action.
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the agreement between County of Lake and Women's Recovery Services, ASAM Level 3.1 Residential Treatment Services to continue vital SUD treatment services for Lake County residents in the not-to-exceed amount of $300,000 for fiscal year 25-26 and authorize the chair to sign.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries. All right. 7.9, consideration of the agreement between County of Lake and Archway Recovery Services Incorporated for ASAM Levels 3.1, 3.2, 3.3, 3.5, and Withdrawal Management Levels 1 and 2 for in the amount of $500,000 for fiscal year 25-26. Director Jones.
Thank you again. This is such a beautiful result of our DMC ODS opt-in. We did not have this service available to us prior. There aren't sufficient, actually no in-county detox facilities, and so we have to go out of county, although we're working currently on building local capacity. We've visited the Archway campuses, and it's been a desperate need, so detox saves lives, and I'm grateful that we can offer this benefit to our community.
All right. Any questions from the board? I'll open it up for the public. No hands in Zoom. We'll bring it back to the board for action.
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the agreement between the County of Lake and Archway Recovery Services, Inc. for an amount not to exceed $500,000 for fiscal year 25-26 and authorize the chair of the board to sign.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. 7.10, consideration of the agreement between County of Lake and Redwood Quality Management Company Incorporated in the amount of $1,212,019.90 for fiscal year 25 through 29. Director Jones.
Thank you. This is a pretty incredible, in my opinion, project. So this is leveraging the county's opioid settlement funds as part of the cash match for the bond grant that they were awarded. Folks are familiar with Proposition 1, and it was a two-parter, one of which was the bond. So our QMC wrote for the grant, was awarded, and with that we'll be establishing a behavioral health campus on the property kind of behind Burger King, like up on Hamburger Hill, I think behind Taco Bell really. And this will be a mental health rehabilitation center with co-occurring, we can support detox, and we'll be pursuing ACM 3.7 designation really hard. And it's also a continuum model, so there will be outpatient programming there as well to help people transition between levels of care. And I know we have somebody here from our QMC who can speak more to that if they wish, but I think it's an incredible leveraging of the county's opioid settlement funds to bring a much needed service into our community.
All right. Any questions from the board? Supervisor Sabatier?
So I'm taking a similar position for the opioid settlement funds being used without understanding or seeing the breakdown of the total amount that we're supposed to receive. I did this in a previous agenda when there was opioid settlement funds. And I'm also concerned about the process in which the plan is great. The plan is great, but we got to do it the correct way. The fact that on December 3rd, 2024, when we were provided the final plan from the community, shows that there is a plan to work with Anchor Health Management and Redwood Community Services with an opioid settlement fund match request of $1.125 million. Tells me there's some preordained RFP results. This is our RFP, and the result is the exact same that was told to us back in December. And I'm worried that not following the right RFP process of being equal to all opportunities is a potential pushback. I also have many more questions. Who owns the facility at the end? Things like that. But at this moment in time, I will be saying no on this one.
You have any?
No.
No? Any other comments from the board? I'll open it up to the public. Sir, come on up.
Good afternoon, Chairman Crandall, Board, ACO Parker. Thank you for the opportunity to come and say hello. I wanted to introduce Redwood Quality Management Company. I'm Dan Anderson, the Chief Operations Officer for our QMC. Excuse me. We are a local company based out of Ukiah. We've been providing mental health services over there for quite a long time. We actually were the administrative service organization for, for the Mendocino County Behavioral Health Department, overseeing the delivery of specialty mental health services, managing the quality assurance and the contracts for the providers. We've also been the psychiatric services provider for beneficiaries that get services through the local mental health plan. About 5 years ago, I guess it was, we recognized there was a gap in services in the continuum of care within Mendocino County, that folks that needed a post-acute crisis inpatient hospitalization stay, where they needed some sort of transitional level of care, there wasn't anything available in Mendocino County. Folks that needed that, who were placed on a conservatorship, LPS conservatorship, or needed that chance for stabilization, recovery, they all had to be placed out of county, sometimes hundreds of miles away. And so it made it really tough to have them stay connected to their local support system, their families, and then that transitioning back home was hard because you couldn't maintain services, setting up the right housing arrangement, supporting all their needs was really hard. So we applied for a grant and actually got a BCHIP grant, Behavioral Health Consortium Infrastructure Program grant, and are almost complete with that project in Ukiah. We should be opening here in the next few weeks, 16-bed residential services. In looking at additional needs, we had extended conversations with Lake County Behavioral Health Services, some of our other partners, and saw the same need in Lake County. So we went ahead and applied for a second grant. through the bond round one and got a grant approval for building a mental health rehabilitation center, outpatient clinic, and supportive services here in Lake County. And so we've proceeded ahead with that. We've submitted actually a use permit application to the city of Lakeport. As Director Jones said, the property that we have secured is in Lakeport, and so we're moving forward on that. The B-CHIP grant, as Dr. Jones identified, requires a local match, and if we're co-applicants with either a nonprofit or a government agency, that can be 10%. So that's where the opioid settlement funds come in, that they can function as a local match, and helps. It wouldn't be possible without that. So it's fantastic that that's available, and we're very excited about what this will bring to Lake County and to our residents here. So we are actually joint applicants with Redwood Community Services, and the county is working with us on this too. To your question, who owns the property? RQMC, Redwood Quality Management Company, is the owner of the property, and we are working with local contractors, materials, various organizations. So this actually is not only are the services coming in, but this project is also bringing jobs, and the whole construction part of it is all supported locally. So I'm glad to be here today to share this, and look forward to making this project happen. Happy to take questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Go ahead, Vice Chair.
Yes, I have a question, Mr. Chair. It regards where is this at in the project with the local jurisdiction, where it's going to be located? You have an application in with the city. Is that in the review process, or
Yes.
trying to get an idea of what the anticipated finalization of that approval would be?
Yes. So we have property in escrow. We haven't closed on it. That's part of what the opioid settlement funds will do, is assist with the acquisition. It's about 3.5 acres there behind Taco Bell. And it's zoned C2. We've met with the planning department of the city of Lakeport, and with all the directors, it's per their opinion, it's an ideal location for this kind of a facility in terms of public access. It's not in the middle of a housing, kind of development. Utilities are accessible and so forth. So it will be built in the city of Lakeport, but the service, target population is the whole county of Lakeport, Lake County. So the building department there of Lakeport will be over, the building permits and the building of it. Our use permit is through the city of Lakeport. That we have submitted it. We've got the letter back from the things that we need. We do have to follow CEQA, so we'll need a bio survey, a cultural survey. We've done a hazards assessment, biohazard assessment, but it's in the process. There's a site plan, floor plans, elevations, what were submitted. We can make that available to the board too, if you're interested.
Well, you answered my question, which was what was the initial feedback from the city about the project?
Yes.
So
Yeah, their feedback this is ideal in terms of the impact on neighbors, the community and so forth. And the development is basically an empty lot right now for 2 parcels. Yeah.
thank you.
Supervisor Sabatier?
Just a question for the board, since you know where I stand on this. I don't see let's say the project defaults. There's nothing about that we get the land, since we may have helped out to get the land. There's nothing about repayment. I'm not seeing a off-ramp of safety for the money being provided here, unless that can be called out and let me know where that is. But I don't see again, this is for a specific project. If the project doesn't occur, I see that whatever money has not been used is given back to us. But nothing about repayment or collateral or anything like that.
Go ahead.
You want me to answer that, or
Yes.
respond to that?
Yes.
So the state I don't know if you've read or looked into the B-CHIP grant process, the bond grant process. So It's, it's pretty mind-numbing.
And I'm talking specifically about the $1 million from our opioid settlement.
Understood. So, but the overlay in our contract with the state is that the state actually takes the property if we don't perform, and that then they, work on meeting the service requirements that are part of the grant application. I don't have an answer in terms of the opioid settlement dollars specifically. I'm assuming that would be part of that conversation with the state. The state actually, through the beachship, encumbers the property and requires us to provide 30 years of services there to meet the grant requirements. The opioid settlement sort of piggybacks on the state's obligations and requirements. But maybe county council can speak to that.
You said a 30-year requirement.
It's a 30-year obligation, yes. I'll be long gone by then, I'm assuming.
Thank you.
But the programs won't.
Go ahead. Lloyd.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So at least in part, Section 4, if we're talking about the proposed agreement that's up for your board's review and approval consideration. Section 4, the termination clause, it does speak to upon termination, the contractor shall be paid just a prorated amount of services provided up to the date of termination. So there's a proration clause there to reflect the payment for the services actually provided. I know it doesn't really speak to the real property issue component, not necessarily, but you have that built in the contract. And then on, I think on the last page of the actual contract, not the signature document, but on page 9 of Exhibit C, the compliance provisions, you also have termination for cause, in which states if RQMC fails to comply with any of the terms of the agreement, including failure to meet the required performance standards, LCBHS may terminate the contract for cause subject to the terms and conditions of the termination clause. In the event of termination, RQMC shall return any unspent OSF funds to LCBHS and shall provide all requested reports, data, and records and related services provided under the agreement. So it is in keeping with the proration clause of Section 4, and that's what I've found so far, at least in part addressing the question of funds or the return of funds.
Can I make one more comment? So there was
Yes.
a question about the RFP for the opioid settlement funds. So we had submitted an application, and I don't remember the exact date, but it was,
Late December?
yes, somewhere. Anyways, last year, and then there was, and I don't know the internal what happened internally here in Lake County, but that was withdrawn, and we had to reapply with a new RFP notification that went out along with any other applications, and it was reviewed by the Opioid Settlement Fund Committee. As far as I know, it was, we had no special treatment because we were, had already been in discussions about it. It was started from scratch as far as I know, and we had to make a complete new RFP application. We were very grateful that the committee found our application to be appropriate to fund, and without it, this project wouldn't happen. So as far as I know, it was a competitive, fair, and above-board process.
Thank you. I'm going to go ahead. If there's not any other public comment, I'm going to close.
Thank you
it.
very much.
Thank you. And I'll bring it back to the board for action.
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the agreement between the County of Lake and Redwood Quality Management Company, Inc. in the amount of $1,212,019.90 for fiscal year 25 through 29 and authorize the chair to sign.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Nay.
Motion carries 4-1. Next, we have 7.11. Consideration of agreement between County of Lake and Sierra Pathways, a licensed social worker corporation in the amount of $960,281.57 for fiscal years 25 through 27. Director Jones.
Yes, Mr. Chair, I apologize, but we must move this to a future agenda date. It needs edits.
All right, so we'll push that to a date to be determined. I'll open it up for the public just in case someone wanted to speak on this. No hands in Zoom. Bring it back to the board. And close that item. Is there anything else we have that's yours on here?
Am I done?
I don't think so. I think 7-Eleven was the last one, right? All right.
I want to thank you, Director Jones. This is just each year, we're able to serve more and more people, and this is just fundamentally changing our communities and uplifting our people, and it's your hard work and your team's hard work, so thank you so much.
So I'll go to, I think 712 is just a continuation, so I'll read that off. Consideration of update regarding public guardian conservatee BB, social services, and it looks like we're gonna pull this for, go ahead, Sue.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, Director Dillman requested that. I request that this item be placed on the August 12th agenda.
So we'll be bringing that back on August 12th. I'll go ahead and open it up to the public if there was any comments or questions. None on Zoom. We'll close this item and bring it back next week, it looks like. We'll go on to 7.13, which I'll just read it off. Consideration of contract between County of Lake and Redwood Community Services Incorporated for wraparound services in the amount of $485,000 per fiscal year from July 1st, 2025 to June 30th, 2028, and authorize chair to sign. Looks like this is going to be pulled to a later date as well, but I'll let you go ahead and explain that, CAO.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Director Dillman asks that this item be placed on the date to be determined.
All right. With that, I'll open it up for the public just in case there are any comments. No hands in Zoom. All right, I'll bring it back to the board, and we will bring that back at a later date. I don't know if you said next week, but either way, a date to be determined. Next, I'll go back to consent 5.6. Approve the updated bylaws of the Middletown Area Town Hall. You pulled this one?
I did. I think there needs to be a couple of adjustments in there I found, so I'm going to need to address those, and then we'll bring it back.
So bring it back to a later date?
Yes, please. Thank you.
To be determined, okay. I'll open it up for the public just in case there is someone. Sure, it's a town hall, so there's got to be something. All right, I'm telling you. All right, I'll bring it back to the board, and we'll look at this another date. All right, so that covers all consent. I think we were at the last timed item, which is, or a non-timed item, I'm sorry. 7.14. Consideration to A, accept the water distribution system previously known as the Western Mutual Water Company inside the Westlake Homes subdivision, and B, accept the wastewater collection system inside the Westlake Homes subdivision. Special Districts Administrator Robin Borey, you have the floor.
Good morning, or good afternoon, board and staff. This item before you has been an item that is prolonged since the mid-'80s when CSA 21 was formed. When they did that, they consolidated multiple areas, including the Westlake Home subdivision, which was called Western Mutual Water at the time. And there's a myriad of maps and documents and all the stuff that says that we have accepted the parcels, we've bought easements, we've done all of this. However, we've been providing water and sewer services to them. However, we have not been maintaining any of the water or sewer lines within the gated community. And I've heard from staff that it was a myriad of reasons, some saying that it was not formally accepted, others saying it was a technicality based on some of the pipes weren't to standards. I can find no actual evidence of why we would not be
I can't either.
operating and maintaining all of these lines. I can find nothing that says that they have excluded that. I have been able to verify that when we purchase the shares of stocks from each individual homeowner, which is maybe why they don't have a global easement acceptance for the subdivision, because at this point we were buying them from each individual landowner, where it says that the terms of this agreement provide for the transfer of the in-ground distribution system and all distribution system easements for the total sales. So I think that it's just been a technicality, and this is just a formal action to so that we aren't going back and forth and the next administrator doesn't interpret it a different way, that we actually maintain the lines inside where we are distributing and collecting stuff from the residents. And they've paid for all of it. They were part of the consolidation. They paid for the additional plants. They've been treated like everyone else except the maintenance part.
All right. Supervisor Sabatier?
So I don't know why, for some reason, the attachment's just not opening, no matter how hard I try to open it up from the agenda. I know I went through
The
it.
subdivision maps, and so it's a very large file, so that's probably why it's not.
Oh,
We
gotcha.
weren't able to open it either.
Huh?
I wasn't able to open that either.
Yeah. So do we accept without a document right now? I guess I'm feeling, I wanted to open it up to a review because I don't remember seeing like a official like resolution that as of today, going retroactively to a certain date, whatever. Do we just say accept verbally and there's nothing else to do? I just want to make sure this doesn't happen again. I want to make sure that I was just looking to make sure, because we had a conversation during lunch regarding this slightly, just a small piece of our overall conversation. And there's obviously a lot of evidence as to why this is coming to us today, but it came to us in 2020, I think it was. And we voted the other way because the information provided to us was the reverse of this information. I just want to make sure that the notes that she has is cataloged on record and not just in an office. But I can't open the thing, but if it's just a map, are we just saying yes today? Is that acceptable?
So what was
One
attached?
second, Lloyd?
So it speaks to the process of, I would just call it formalizing the acceptance of these two systems, which is what's being proposed to your board as recommendations. It's one thing to recommend that your board, by way of motion, take action to accept these systems, but if there are any other prerequisites to that acceptance, that may lead to another possible item being brought forward to your board to make sure that those requisites, those requirements are met. From staff's, special district staff's board memo, it appears that representations that were made that these systems apparently have been granted in terms of access and possible, access, at least for access to special district staff, to county staff, pursuant to these easements. And at least at this point, it does not appear to be there as part of the agenda packet, the actual easements themselves, but that also speaks to Administrator Bori's statements that the way they did it before, it wasn't a global easement. It wasn't just a one globalized easement applicable to all of the utilities, access to the utilities in that HOA area. So you have that, and then you also have, as your board acknowledged, that outside of the board memo, the document, the other document that was uploaded, apparently there's some accessibility issues there. I'm not sure if in Granicus itself, if that's difficulty is if other other participants or other viewers is also having access to that. So between those two issues, one option for your board would be to continue this item to a later date in order to allow for those items and sub-items that I mentioned, at least in part, to be resolved. So that is one option for your board. The other option, of course, is to go with what you have here, which is at this point, if there's accessibility issues to that attachment, to that large document attachment, then all that's before your board right now is just a board memo along with Administrator Bori's statements in her presentation. And the only caveat to that would be if, again, what's presented to your board is just a motion to accept the systems, that speaks to the process of accepting it. And if there are any prerequisites that are found later on to effectuate that acceptance by your board, any other prerequisites, any other procedural requirements that need to take place in order to effectuate that acceptance, then staff may need to bring that back to your board to satisfy those checklist requirements.
Vice Chair, I seen you had your pen up. I didn't know if you wanted to add to that.
Well, I've talked to Robin and both Nancy Ruzicka extensively about this, Nancy is the one that started that project out there at Westlake, and because I've been involved in this for the past couple of months, in all the discussions and what I've seen, I feel comfortable that we should be accepting that system. So I just wanted to throw that out there, but I'd also like to hear from the public too, if there's anything.
Right, Robin, I apologize I cut you off, but I was just wanted to hear county council. Go ahead and if you have.
I just wanted to explain what the attachment was. It was the Westlake subdivision map for the whole subdivision, and that's where the like common parcels, so the HOA kind of owned parcels, were accepted for all the utilities. But it didn't talk about each individual home and the way it's set up out there. That's why those are new documents that we have recently received. Admin has graciously given us several boxes that appear to maybe have been from Anita or someone before, that has had a lot of this information in there that previous administrators may or not have actually had access to.
All right, thank you. I'll open up for public comment. If you'd like to come up, please.
Nancy Ruzicka. Since in 1993, as stated in the cover document from Robin Boré, the county purchased from each lot owner out there their share of stock. Then the county turned around and charged us on our water bill for part of a loan and on our property taxes. So we got paid for Western Mutual Water Company, which had a tank up on the hill up Parkway, and in our current maintenance yard for the Homeowners Association was a well, another one in another corner of the property. And we sure wish we hadn't had to close those, because we could sure use that in the coming years for water for our landscaping. And I think previously when I appeared at public input, I gave you the history of this. I didn't know where to go. It was getting very frustrating, because when things get older, when you've bought something, say you buy a used car, you don't go back to the person that sold it to you and said, hey, you got to continue to maintain this thing. I bought it from you. When you buy something, you take over the responsibility. Well, Robin has been wonderful getting to the bottom of this. And when you move your office or your home, you find some old documents, right? And I found a copy of the purchase of our share of stock for a house we had bought for my mother. And then we bought at a foreclosure sale more units at Westlake. So I've been close to this ever since the 80s, when Rasique Engineering designed Westlake as a planned unit development. The County of Lake did not want the roads to be public. They had paid you'd all paid a lot of money for repaving some roads up above Clear Lake Oaks, and the developer said, fine, we'll make it gated. So then all of a sudden, Special District says, oh no, we're not going out there and repairing these lines, that we're charging you the same amount for water and sewer as we charge everyone else in the North Lake Port, and you have paid for the new district, and because we don't go on public property. Well, you didn't want the streets, but your easements were recorded with the county surveyor in 1993. Let's see, there was something else I was going to mention, something about a technicality, and actually that happened later, because if you were able to see a copy of these construction plans, right down here on the left-hand corner, they were accepted 12 years before by the county engineer and the head of special districts, County Engineer Eugene Collins in 1981, and Gary Brown, who is the head of special districts. Then on page 14, there is a final note in the plan saying that everything was done according to county standards, and it listed, the different resolutions at the time. So when it was built, it met all county standards. When it was purchased by the county, you accepted it. So we have been paying for the maintenance, and there's a lot of, it started out as retirement community. It was one of the downturns in the economy, and it didn't survive. And it was one of the first, the only one I knew of in the country at the time where development was actually shut down by the FDIC, the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation, because the partners of the developers was a savings and loan in Santa Rosa. And it sat for 8 years. That means the lines weren't used too much. There were few homes that were sold, maybe 8, 10 out of 54. It's a 54-unit development. But my point is that all these years, special district says, oh, no, we're not going to pay for the maintenance. Well, you don't send people a water bill the same as you send the rest of North Lakeport, and yet you pay for their maintenance. It's not a mobile home park where, one owner pays all the water and sewer bill. So anyway, enough of me. If you have any questions for me, I have many points, and I feel like I already went over them once, and I have beat this thing to death, and Robin's been wonderful about getting on, and I know she's got a lot of other things to do, but it was time to get this settled once and for all, especially when there was a huge water leak on Lakeshore Boulevard, and the district was losing a lot of water into the lake. Thank you.
Thank you, Nancy. Supervisor Sabatier?
Yeah, it's erroring out every single time. I'm not able to open it. I must have failed when I was getting ready for this agenda. I know I read through the memo. I don't remember ever seeing an attachment. I don't know if the attachment was placed afterwards, but if it was always there, I never saw it. And the fact that it's unavailable, I think we're approving something based on a memo, not based on evidence brought to us that is on record, and I think that this requires at least, I would love to see it on the consent agenda so we can easily push it through as long as the evidence is made available, because we need to solve this problem, and I just want to make sure it's on record. Right now, if we approve it, there's nothing on record but a memo.
Okay.
Well, we can do different sheets next time, or maybe compress it. It's 8 pages. It takes a while on my computer, but.
Any recommendations over here? I know that I'm on. If Brad, if you're comfortable with it, I'm ready to move forward. I do agree. I didn't see it either, but it's your district. If you're comfortable with it.
I'm comfortable with it based on my conversations with Robin and extensively, and talking to Nancy and knowing the history. Every house has a county meter. It's not, and the lines go underneath the public roadway on Lakeshore Boulevard. The way this is outlined is we're not going to be responsible for if we have to dig up a sidewalk, then we'll dig it up and fix the line, and then the homeowner's going to have to fix the sidewalk behind it. But based on what I know, I'm comfortable, but at the same time, if the board prefers, we can put it on consent agenda next week with the map in there. I'm not going to argue against that if that makes
Susan,
the board feel more comfortable.
Okay, I thought I seen you like ready to. Does it need 4? It needs 3. Yeah, that's what. Yeah.
Will the maps be included with it once if we vote on it now, the maps will be included with it?
Yeah, she's
Yeah,
talking to Robin.
Yeah, the maps we have, all these maps, we've also found a whole nother set of maps that outline exactly where, they're the as-built maps showing where all of the lines and stuff are. And so we have that map, we have the subdivision map where they accepted the subdivision parcels that were not private owners. And then, and I have Nancy's here just because hers was on top of what we purchased. So that's why they didn't come as formal acceptance of easements, is my guess, is because we went through and purchased them when we, each share we purchased. That's how we got Western Mutual Water, is we purchased the shares from the homeowners, and then that's where they gave us the easements and the infrastructure.
So basically, we're accepting the whole enchilada. We just can't access it right now.
You guys can't see it.
Right,
You can't open the subdivision map, but over the years, I think we have technically accepted it. And so I just want to formalize that, yes, we're going to maintain it.
That's what I
I mean, we obviously are using it. We're the ones that have the meters on there. We're billing all the residents. We're, using the collection system to take everything to Northeast or Northwest treatment plant, and our water system is completely tied in. So, I mean, it's it kind of benefits us more than it hinders us to actually maintain this section of the system that could be a catastrophic failure to either one of our systems if we're not maintaining it. They could have huge sewer leaks. We could they could lose huge amount of water out of the system, that kind of stuff. So it's actually a really good benefit for us to actually be out there looking at it.
Lloyd, do you have some, no? Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So as I stated before, if your board were to move forward with the two recommended actions, it would not be based on those maps because they're not accessible, as your board discovered. And so it would be solely based on the representations made on the memo, and as well as the comments made by Administrator Bore and other public comments and discussion that took place at this hearing. If your board is moving forward with the action, it would be based on those, not on the technical details of the map, because it's not before your board.
Right. Any other comments, or want to move forward?
Yeah, with that, Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion, starting with A, accept the water distribution system previously known as Western Mutual Water Company inside the Westlake Homes subdivision. Should I do it separately?
Yes, because it involves two different systems.
Okay, so that's the first motion.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
Motion carries 4-1.
And the second, continuing, would be accept the wastewater collection system inside the Westlake Homes subdivision.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
Motion carries 4-1. All right, that concludes 7.14. Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you for the information, Nancy. We appreciate that.
On behalf of the Westlake Homeowners Association, which I am a board member of, I want to thank you all for finally clarifying this. It's really been very upsetting. The last incident, the sewer was overflowing, and I was very worried that it was going to go under a building and under Parkway and down a ditch into Clear Lake, and the county would have big, big fine. So we called out Roto-Rooter, and they took care of it. But I don't know if future boards, just like you don't know how a future board is going to react to the things you do, would be that considerate of the county. So thank you for finally clarifying this. It's caused me a lot of sleepless nights the last 30 years when I knew this was wrong. And staff, I don't think they wanted to come out of the office and deal with it, quite frankly, in the past. So really appreciate current staff and especially Robin. Thank you so much. I don't know if any of our board members are listening, or if you have, I told them it'd probably be around 4 o'clock and it's only 2:45. So we are a community of local retirees, have moved from bigger homes into smaller ones, many single women who don't want to be out in the middle of nowhere alone and like the gates, and people who come up on weekends. And 2 of our board members are weekenders. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, that is our full agenda except for 7.1, calendars. Yeah. Who would like to start?
I'll start.
All right.
So we haven't had a regular meeting for 2 weeks. I went to the grand jury swearing in on the 25th of July. Also that day I attended the Thule Boat Festival, and I was excited to see all the organizations out there and also some of our own county departments, including Water Resources and the museum, which I saw there. Also at the end of July, I had a financial audit committee meeting for the county financial audit committee meeting. I had a meeting today with the Lakeport Unified School District. No, I'm sorry, that was Monday. And then tonight I'll go to the Lakeport City Council meeting. Tomorrow I have a meeting with Soper Reese staff to try to help them out. They want to put together a kind of a fire prevention education type of a town hall next month. Tomorrow I'll also have a meeting with the Lakeport mayor. And on Thursday, I'm going to attend the Northern Rural Energy Network Energy Efficiency Public Agency Focus Group meeting at City Hall in Lakeport. I'll be attending the COC General and Executive Committee meetings on Thursday, and then a monthly meeting with Lakeport City Manager on Friday. Thank you.
All right.
Tomorrow I've got some meetings, constituent meetings, and getting ready for school. School starts on Thursday, so I'm also doing orientations and a bunch of kid things the next 2 days, or actually tomorrow. Thursday is the first day of school for Middletown. I'm going to be all day with the RCD and the local work group. Morning session is agriculture and rangeland. The afternoon session is forest health and wild resilience. And then Friday, I've got a planning call and a doctor's appointment. And then Supervisor Sabati's birthday's on Saturday. That's on my calendar.
What?
It's not even on my calendar.
Monday, I have my meeting with CAO Parker, but we're very excited. Vice Chair Rasmussen and I have been working with the Cold Creek work group with Director Dr. Upadhyay on getting the work started. So that's starting, fingers crossed, everything's still a go Monday, to really work on those. There's sediment, there's vegetation, there's all kinds of blockages. There's been incredible flooding for the past 5 years or so. So we're really excited to get that work going. And I have a big shout out to the Water Resources Department and the community members who've been attending our monthly meetings and are showing up with all of their tools to get this work going. So hope I can get out there in the beginning of the week and see what's going on. And then back here on Tuesday.
All right.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Let me see. I had a meeting, or I went to the Gwinnett Maha project. They had they showed us what was going to be going on out there, and we had to tour yesterday. We had a Valley Fire meeting for the celebration, or not celebration, but recognition for the 10-year anniversary of the Lake County Valley Fire. And we had that last week, and I think we have another one coming up this week, do we?
I think this week our meetings are separate.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So we have that coming up. We've been working on that project, Jessica and I. Tomorrow I have a lunch meeting, and then Thursday I was planning on attending the ag rangeland at 9 a.m., the same as Supervisor Jessica, and the Forest Health at 1. I also have a math meeting at 6:30, and that will be with Caltrans. They're going to be coming to the Middletown math meeting. I'm going to probably watch the special meeting for the Maha project and the planning on Friday. And I have a couple of other meetings I still haven't gotten lined up yet. One of them will be with the Hidden Valley Lake. I want to tour the levee out there with their issues with the Buda Creek levee. So that's it.
Supervisor Sabatier?
Yes, give me 1 second. Supposed to go to Maha, trying to figure out if that's still going to happen for tomorrow. Got some COC meetings for the rest of the day, especially the housing navigation, really having good outcomes but difficult outcomes because just the lack of housing, hence the importance of the HAIP that we just went through. I am the host for Judge's Breakfast this month. We're starting this week with Brock Falkenberg, our Superintendent of Schools for Lake County. The following week will be Maha Project presenting to the Judge's Breakfast. The following week will be Chair Crandall. And then the 28th will close out with Congressman Thompson. And so looking forward to all of those presentations. The following day, I'm going to be helping out with a lot of stuff regarding PEG. Need to really clean out our studio and get it ready for our next project. COC meeting all the way through and finishing up the day with City Council meeting. Meeting with SLR on Friday. And that's all that I have so far. And then on the 11th, there'll be a concert in the park in the city of Clear Lake. That's what I'm planning to do for my birthday. Coming in on Monday, CSAC Health Committee will be meeting. We're meeting with Homerton Haven from the old juvenile hall to check in on their data entry and also meeting with our lived experience group. So the COC, the Continuum of Care, it's taken up quite some time. And then we'll be back here on the 12th. But before that, on the 12th will be National Night Out. I don't know if the city of Lakeport is doing that on the same day or not.
They're doing theirs in October.
Oh, it's in October. But that will be happening in Austin Park in the city of Clear Lake, National Night Out at 5 p.m. That's all I got right now.
Supervisor Sabatier, the 7th, is that the date or is it further out? For Judge's Breakfast?
That is the 21st.
Okay, that's what I thought. I have it there, and I was like, I thought when you mentioned it, I thought you said the 7th. I was like, oh man, okay, I'll make it work.
Didn't mean to make your heart race.
All right, so tomorrow I have the East Region Town Hall in Clear Lake Oaks. Following that, I'll go out to Spring Valley, CSA number 2. Thursday, waiting on confirmation. That might be my day to go out and see Gwinnett. Let's see. Oops, I just pushed that down. There we go. Friday, we have the SLR meeting. I think there's a meeting we have to talk about the ever so loving situation with Scott Dam. 7.2, sorry.
Nice.
Monday, CERT, that's what it is. CERT. I usually don't do this, but I'm going to just put something out there for Saturday as well. Jose Canseco is going to be at Robinson Rancheria, and the reason I bring this up is because, I mean, if you grew up during the time I did, it was a big deal. I know he's not in the Hall of Fame or nothing, but he was a big part of the Bay Area in California, Northern California back in the days because of the A's. So just letting you know he'll be there. I think it's from like 11 to 2, or no, 10 to 4. So yeah, just throwing that out there for anyone that wants to go see a pro baseball player. Yeah, so that's all I have for this week. Next we have closed session, right? I will. 8.1, Public Employee Evaluation, Water Resources Director. 8.2, Public Employee Appointment pursuant to Government Code Section 54957B1, Interviews for Public Works Director, Appointment of Public Works Director. And 8.3, Conference with Legal Counsel, Existing Litigation pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9D1, FERC Proceeding Number P77, Potter Valley Hydroelectric Project. 8.4, Employee Grievance Complaint pursuant to Government Code Section 54957. With that, we'll go into closed session. Thank you for tuning in with us. Oh, yeah, we need at least 10, I think.